All right, favorite Paul Rudd movie.
I was just going to say we've spent the whole morning talking about Paul Rudd. What's my favorite Paul Rudd movie?
Right.
Shit.
And you can't say Halloween, the Curse of Paul Rudd.
Well, that's
other than that.
That's not a good Paul Rudd movie. Crap.
I don't even know what kind of accent he is trying to do in the movie.
So
it's very bad.
This is very tough for me because he's in so many good movies. I was just telling you, Ant-Man is one of my favorite superhero movies.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's very good, and I think the sequel is coming out very soon.
Are we getting paid to say this?
No.
Okay.
40-Year-Old Virgin's very good.
I think,
but
I still think
is,
I Love You Man.
He's not like the funny one in 40-Year-Old Virgin for me. He's not as funny as some of the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Anchorman, he's very good.
I Love Lamp.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I Love You Man is probably the best Paul Rudd. If you're looking for a heavy dose of Paul Rudd and some good laughing, I Love You Man is a good get some fish tacos and a whole bunch of beer, cold beer, and get out your bass guitar and sit down.
Slap some bass.
Sit down and watch I Love You Man. You know what? I like that movie so much, and I thought it's such a good like guy movie that I almost bought tickets to see
Rush.
Yeah, I almost bought tickets to see Rush the day after I saw that movie, and then I realized the tickets to see Rush were like $100, and I was like, well, I'll just take $20 and listen to him on my phone.
Yeah, all right, migos.
So we spent the whole morning talking about Paul Rudd and even a little bit just now.
And Don Rickles.
But thinking about another conversation we had is what kind of inspired me out of the blue this last week. Mm-hmm. What was it? Has it been about 6 weeks now? Maybe 2 months? We're so busy that the time frame is screwy for me. But we did that podcast festival, right, in Columbus.
Yeah.
And we discussed Brian Schaefer for a good portion of that.
Yes.
And I'm not crazy, but people have got to hear that on here, right, on Off the Record?
I believe so.
So if you want, you can go listen to that. But the thing here is afterwards, when we were at, go ahead.
I was just going to say I have a couple updates on that real quick. If you want to hear them.
Well, actually, yeah, I do. But I want to tell you why I kind of got into this thinking about Joey LaBute's case. Mm-hmm. Was that podcast festival. Because afterwards, we're talking about Brian Schaefer, and we were trying to leave the theater. And there was a great group of people, about 6 or 7 people outside of the theater. Mm-hmm. And we stood there talking with them about Brian Schaefer's case, but we also talked quite a bit about Joey LaBute and several other people that have gone missing or were killed in Ohio.
Well, first of all, we were supposed to go to the Little Rock Bar in Columbus, which is owned by a friend of mine or a guy I haven't seen in a while, but I consider him a friend of mine. And
what was the name of the band you guys played in together?
X-Rated Cowboys,
which I saw you guys at least once at the Newport. Mm-hmm. That was a good band.
Back when we lived in an apartment together. That's when I joined X-Rated Cowboys. And mainly because I said, hey, I'm supposed to go play with this band, X-Rated Cowboys. And you go, hey, I just heard them on the radio. And I thought, well, shit, if they're on the radio.
It's meant to be.
I should probably play with this band. No, but it's funny because we're sitting outside of the theater. There's like 6 people talking to us. We're talking about different cases and everything. We end up, I think I was out there for about 2 hours because I remember my legs getting tired and like leaning against the wall. Mm-hmm. And but we're supposed to go to that bar afterwards, and we never made it. But in fairness to us, as we thought, hey, we should go to that bar because there's going to be some people hanging out afterwards. Like the host of the show was like, see you guys later. And we're like, hey, you going to the bar? He's like, nah, nobody's going.
Well, so what was the end result of that? Were there actual people there like wanting to hang out?
Yeah, some people showed up. So
we look like douche canoes, but the host, and I can't remember his name, but he was great. He did a great job interviewing us and keeping the show going at the podcast festival. But you're right. We're all kind of filing out through the main doors there to the theater, and I assumed the 3 of us were going to kind of go together to this bar, the Little Rock Bar. And of course, he says to us, he goes, don't worry about going. There's nobody over there.
Right. Right.
We're like, oh, okay.
And then I thought, well, and then I think you were pretty busy that week. And I remember saying to you, like, you looked at me like, oh man, well, nobody's going. And you had a lot of stuff, I think, going on in the morning. And I was like, hey, don't worry about going. I'll go over.
Right.
If there's anybody over there, at least one of us shows up. And just because this guy said, don't go over there, at least one of us will show up. Well, after talking for about 2.5 hours on the street, then I was like, there's no way that there's anybody left.
We figured the only people that wanted to talk to us at the Little Rock Bar were the 6, 7, 8 people that were outside of the theater that we talked to for a good amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the conversation that inspired me to look up Joey LaBute's case again. And the thing that's so crazy about, and the reason why conversation about Joey's case came up outside of the theater that night, is because the two of the cases mirror, the Brian Schaefer case and the Joey LaBute case, they mirror each other quite a bit. I mean, you're talking about two good-looking professionals in their mid-20s, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
They go missing roughly the same time of year. Brian was late March, April 1st of 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have March of 2016 when Joey first goes missing, and then ultimately his body is turned up in the Scioto River.
Mm-hmm. Some people like to say the Scioto. And
the thing that's weird about that, too, is that's one theory of a possibility that could have happened to Brian. Of what happened with Brian. Now, we covered Brian Schaefer's case, and it was our first like big case. Wouldn't you say? Like, and I mean big meaning like lots of ears tuned in and listened to those two episodes. And we did that episode 16 and 17. And I think we did that like mid to late February of 2016 because we were trying to get the Brian Schaefer case out before the 10-year anniversary of his disappearance.
Mm-hmm.
But while we were doing research for that, shortly afterwards is when Joey LaBute goes missing.
Yeah, and it's one of the first cases that we covered kind of early when there wasn't a lot of information out there.
Right. Yeah, there was very little information out there. And to be honest with you, Captain, there still kind of is very little information.
Right. Now he went missing. He was leaving the Union Bar.
Union Cafe, Union Bar.
Mm-hmm. Went missing he left, possibly got in his car. We're not 100% sure on that. There was a phone call made from his car, from his cell,
mm-hmm.
or it was either made from his cell or somebody called the cell and somebody picked up. We don't know if that was Joey or not. And then he's found, I believe, 10 days later, 11
yeah,
days
almost
later.
2 weeks later. And they also had that strange text. There was some strange, weird text that was sent from his phone that didn't make any sense. It wasn't even a real word.
Right.
So who knows how that came about.
And I believe his cell phone was never found.
It looks like Joey was drugged. And the rumors that I have heard, I've not read anything in the paper or seen anything on the news to confirm this, but the rumors that I have heard was that Joey was a very clean living guy.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't drink hardly ever. He didn't do any drugs. And actually, his family has said this guy never did drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought is that somebody tried to take advantage of Joey, tried to use possibly date rape drugs
mm-hmm.
on Joey at Union Cafe or at maybe another bar, because there's that seedier bar that's across the street, and I can't think of the name of it.
Right, which I've never had this confirmed, but when I was talking to William Ramsey, he was actually talking about the idea that the bar across the street was actually owned by the Union. And that there was a pretty big investigation going on into a bartender that was drugging, customers.
Males, females, both?
I think both.
Okay.
But I think mainly males. And I don't think there was any reports of him the bartender was a male. From the rumor I heard, he would drug the customers, but there was no interaction with them afterwards. It wasn't like oh, well, he drugged me and then he tried to corner me in the bathroom or something. No, it
was just for like amusement, or
I guess. But the funny thing was, I have several friends that would go to the Union a lot, and the couple times I've been there, I've actually heard people talking about this rumor, why I'm there. Not with Joey LaBute, but just the fact that possibly this bartender on this other bar was not date raping, but giving the date rape drug to people, feeding that into their drinks. But then also that maybe there was a customer that was coming into the Union and doing that onto other customers. Yeah,
I heard that with the seedier bar, not the Union Cafe, but I heard that for a while, and when I say a while, I mean like 6 months to like a year, that people told me it seemed like it was almost a common occurrence. Like once a weekend, somebody was getting drugged or accusing somebody of drugging their drink while at this other place. And the thought being is that Joey, being a clean living guy, that somebody put something, that he ingested something unknowingly, unwillingly, and his system couldn't handle it.
Well, and we say clean living, but we do know that night he was having a couple drinks.
Right, he was.
He just wasn't a heavy drinker.
No, and he wasn't even like big into going out. He was described as a homebody. In fact, I think it was his sister or his cousin, somebody he was real tight with and hung out with him fair decent amount, described Joey as a busy night for Joey was sitting on the couch watching Netflix.
Right.
And that's the kind of, and he almost had to be talked into going out that particular night.
Sounds like me.
Where he ended up disappearing. But the strange thing is that the cases kind of mirror themselves so much. And when I started looking at Joey's case once again, every time something comes up, I'm like, that's just like Brian. That's just like Brian Schaefer's case. Two guys out in roughly the same age. We're talking about cases that took place almost exactly 10 years apart. Made me, and I know we talked about this when we covered Joey's case, were these related? Was this some kind of like, okay, it's been this, some horrible person went and did something terrible to Brian Schaefer, and then 10 years later, I'm going to strike again. I'm going to strike again around the anniversary of Brian Schaefer's disappearance, and they never found him. So what do I got to lose?
Well, yeah, and when I was talking with William Ramsey, which I know the audio on his audio was just kind of crackly, but again, it's a good documentary. If you get a chance, check out the Smiley Face Killer. But when he was looking at the comparison of Brian Schaefer and Joey LaBute, similar cases, similar area, location, I mean, within probably a mile of each other. The difference is Brian wasn't found in water. So,
right.
So that's why he didn't add Brian to the list of his theory, which his theory, if you haven't listened to that show, or if the audio was so bad that you decided to turn it off, his theory is pretty simple. Out of the hundreds of college men that have gone missing, that he narrowed it down to about 30. They were all found in water. They're all found in water that also seemed to be checked, at some point. So, like, for example, Joey went missing. At some point, they checked the Scioto River. And then later, when they checked, he's then there. Wasn't there before. Now he's there. So it seems like these individuals are taken somewhere for a time period, and then they're dumped into water. Now, his theory is that there was multiple killers and that they're learning how to do this, like the blueprint, through the dark web or through the internet or some kind of communication.
Like a network of killers playing some kind of game.
Almost, yeah. But almost like where, kind of like Reddit in a way where somebody put out this theory of, if you do this, this, and this, and this, and this, you can get away with a crime. Or this is how, if you want to do, go to a bar, drug the individual, take them, do whatever you're going to do to them, and then dump them into the water. Because we all know that the water makes the evidence a lot more harder to figure out.
Is his theory that these killers are colluding, or are they more like silent partners?
I don't know. I think I don't think he is for sure on that, and I don't want to misquote him because
that's fair.
But it seems to me like they're either getting this from just some kind of like manual, like does somebody posted this manual, or maybe that it is like, somebody said I did this, and somebody said, oh, well, how do I do that, and somebody's teaching the person, so it's one or the other.
Well, and here's the thing, too. When we covered Joey's case, I gave out that information that when I was looking for stuff on the case, I came across that strange post, the strange comment posted by this person that goes by C. Ruby Falsey.
C. Ruby Falsey.
Which, when you trace that, I was able to trace it back to a fake Facebook profile.
Is that C as in the letter C?
The letter C, yes. And then Ruby is, and I'm kind of going off memory here, Captain, but Ruby, I believe, is Rubeye. And Falsey would be Falsz. So it like when you look at it on a computer screen, it almost looks like C is the first initial, and this Rubeye or Ruby would be the middle name, and Falsz would look like the last name. But then you go to the profile, the Facebook profile, and it's very obvious a fake one, and might be that the person put some humor into setting up this Facebook profile, because I haven't visited the profile in a long time, but I do remember that there were some kind of things that had I not been so angry at this individual's post, that I probably would have laughed at a couple of things. Like, I think that they said that they worked at the world's largest ball of yarn or something like that was their place of employment. But the comment that this poster left was after the article that says Joey's found in the Scioto River. The comment was so simple. It's just one sentence. It says, looks like he got his drink, or I guess he got his drink, something to that effect, which was a real pisser for me because it's kind of...
All right, so let's go back. Hold on.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to follow you. So on Joey LaBute's Facebook page...
No. There was a article on like a local news website. And I don't know if it was like Channel 10, Channel 6. It was one of our local news stations had a story on Joey. It might even been ColumbusDispatch.com now that I think about it.
Right, and it's the article where they found Joey.
They're stating that they found him and in the Scioto River, and it's a little brief about he had been missing for X amount of days. He was believed to have last been at this location, that sort of thing.
Right, so, and this guy posts, this C. Rubeye Falsey.
Yeah.
C. Ruby Falsey. He posts, well, it looks like he got his drink.
Or I guess he got his drink. I don't remember verbatim what it was.
No, yeah. So the reason why this individual is probably setting up a Facebook page is so a lot of these online news outlets, you have to log in through Facebook or whatever so you can post a comment. So maybe that's why they're setting up a Facebook page.
Yeah, and what was weird was that, I threw that in when we covered the case, and I did report that information to the Columbus Police Department. And I did that because they took down, whoever hosts that site took down this particular comment. And I don't remember if they may have even removed all comments from the story. But most of the comments were normal things like, oh, that poor guy, or somebody would post like, oh, I knew Joey. He was a great guy, smart kid. It was things that you would expect to see. And then I come across this one.
Well, it's almost like this really bad joke. Like as the person's reading the article, it pops in their head, oh, looks like he got his drink.
Which is a real pisser because not only was Joey found in water, but it's believed he was probably drugged, and that it's likely the drug came through a drink.
But what I'm saying is, it could just be, again, just a really stupid joke. We know the guy went missing from a bar. Now he's found in the water. Oh, just like I said, not a funny joke, just some stupid joke that came into the guy's head while he's reading the article. and he posts it thinking, oh, I'll be kind of cruel.
Well, yeah, just it's a classless, distasteful comment. You know, and the thing was, when I mentioned that on our show, what was pretty cool was a bunch of the listeners. I received a bunch of email from several listeners saying, "Hey, I've seen that profile, or I've seen that person post on other stories, leaving strange or rude comments on other tragic stories." You know, there was
not just Columbus stories.
Most of them are Ohio-based stories.
Okay. So does it say, I mean, we know, okay, first of all, I mean, it's easy to find this guy. He works at the world's largest ball of yarn.
Which is probably only like 3 or 4 employees. So
right. I mean, how many people can you fit in that?
Well,
likely.
So let me give you some examples of these.
Of the yarn.
Of these poor comments that he leaves.
So multiple comments.
There. Oh, he's done this like he or she. Actually, I can say he with certainty. I know who this person is. But he has left comments, probably a dozen that were presented to me. Okay, so there's probably a lot more of them out there than that, but this is what was emailed to me from a few different people. But just a couple quick examples. There was one of a woman who was just 27 years old. Her body was found on the side of the road. And I won't go into detail about her or her case because that's something completely separate. But this person, this man, commented something like to the effect that this woman is a street pharmacist. Well, what was real shitty about that comment was the other posters, the other people posting comments on that story were her family members. Where, you know, her family were reading this story and were commenting on this story, and actually a little bit of retaliation to this C. Ruby Falsey. And then there was another one, the weird one too, that seemed strange was there was a U.S. airman who vanished in Italy. And he was later found in a river. This was Staff Sergeant Helix, Hale, I believe is how you say his name. He was 24 years old from Middletown, Indiana. Sorry. He was stationed over in Italy in the Air Force. They find him dead in the river, and C. Ruby Falsey has commented on that article as well.
Right, so, which is possibly, you know, like talking with William Ramsey, I mean, these cases, you know, he picked 30, but the cases that he's been looking at to add onto his list are coming from all over the world.
Oh, wow.
So you're talking about, here's this other individual, he's 24 years old. I don't know where he went missing from or whatever, but they found him dead in water. Well, okay, that goes with, you know, part of the theory. Now we got this jackass that's posting, what was he posting on that post?
He was just saying something about if you go to Europe, don't use your debit card because they will steal your information and steal all your money from your bank account. And then he was further stating to not use any of your credit cards while you're there as well because they will steal that information and max out your card. That's really all he had to say. He didn't say anything as rude as he did when he commented on Joey's page.
Yeah, so it's not rude at all, really. It's just weird.
But you would agree, yeah, it's strange. Like, it seems like a strange comment to post on a tragic story.
Yeah, or maybe it's a clue. Talking about credit cards or debit cards and going.
That's interesting.
Is that some, you know, did this guy go to a bar and
well, now that you say, okay, so this guy, the U.S. airman, he was last seen at a party. He was at
okay.
No. Listen.
No, I just want to stop real quick because the thing that I forgot to mention is William Ramsey talks about when he narrows down his group of people that he concentrates on. Right.
Okay.
Of all these missing college students, they're last seen at a bar or a party drinking, and then they end up in water. So this guy might be actually in the documentary. Like I said, it's pretty long. It's about 3 hours or so, but it's, you know, William did a lot of research, so check that out.
This man was found. He was last seen at this party. I don't remember 100%, Captain, but it seemed to me like, from what I read, it would be a party that I would expect the drinks to be flowing. You know what I mean? Like
every party, the drinks should be flowing.
This was like
I'm out.
Backyard barbecue, bunch of people having a great time, having a fantastic evening, and then this guy is found in the water. The strange thing, though, is he's found wearing nothing but like a swimming trunks or, something you would expect somebody to swim in. I don't know if this individual, if there was swimming going on at the party or volleyball or something that would make him wear this to the party and he was a victim, or did he get drunk and get super strength? This is something that this is something that happens to men sometimes. We drink and we think we're capable of things that we're not. We're probably not capable of them.
That happens to women too.
When you're sober. And, did he strip down to his swimming trunks and decide, hey, I'm going to go swim in that river real quick? One night I got hammered, and I was in South Carolina or Florida. I can't remember. But the whole backyard of this place had these really tall palm trees, no branches sticking out the side, just a tall, skinny tree, but strong. Mm-hmm. And I was staring at this one tree. I swear to God, it was staring at me all night, like teasing and taunting me. And after about 15 beers, I decided I'm going to climb that palm tree. Because you see the people on TV, they kind of like hook their arms around the trunk and then they put their feet on the sides and they just kind of scoot up the tree like a monkey or something.
Mm-hmm. And this was your thought, that you'll just climb it.
I thought, I've seen this on TV. It can't be that hard. I managed to get about
2 feet in the air.
No, I did okay, but the height of this tree, I was nowhere near the top. So I probably had the bottom of my feet were probably about 7 or 8 feet off the ground.
Not so bad for 15 beers.
Right, but then when I realized, hey, like I can't climb this tree, like it's not going to happen, I decided the best method to getting back to the ground was just sliding down the tree, which don't do that. Do not do that because I every piece of flesh that was exposed at that moment was cut up. I was cut up by this tree.
Yeah. That's a CrossFit thing. If you climb up the rope, the first time most people get up the rope, they're like, I did it. Mm-hmm. And then they just slide
down and rope burn.
And they just rip their skin right off their hands.
So with this individual Staff Sergeant Helix Hale, I would love to know if he would have wore this outfit, if he wore the swimming trunks to this party. Mm-hmm. Because then he may look more like a victim, as where it is plausible that he decided, hey, I'm going to take a dip in this river real quick.
Yeah, and it's weird though too. Like I said, it might be this individual trying to point to some evidence, but he's at a party, not a bar. Bar, you take the credit card.
But you bring up something interesting though, because what if this guy has knowledge or was with this individual and they stopped off somewhere and this individual used their debit card or credit card, and this is kind of his way of further taunting people. Like, hey, if you would check his records, you would know that that party was not his last stop of the night.
Right. Okay, so what's another comment he's made? Do you have another one?
I didn't go through all of them. Mm-hmm. So I did go through all of them when they were received.
Right.
When they sent them to me. However, if you try to go back through them now, which I did last week, I attempted to go back through them. A lot of these articles are old. They're a year old, 2 years old, whatever, because we covered that show in 2016, or that case in 2016.
What year is it now?
2018.
Oh, shit.
So 2 years ago is when I received all these emails from our beautiful, beautiful listeners. Mm-hmm. But
very handsome.
When I go back and try to check now, a lot of these stories, all the comments have been removed.
A lot of times when they have jackasses posting stuff, they'll just, enable the comment section.
So one individual took this a step further and decided to trace
guy or girl.
I'm sorry?
One individual that took this a step further. Guy, girl.
I'm going off memory here, but I think it was a guy. Mm-hmm. Okay. So they took this a step further and decided to trace that Facebook profile to find that the individual is a man who lives in Columbus.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and I actually had this information pretty quickly after we covered Joey's case.
Wait, hold on a second. It says right here, he lives in the garage. It's you. You're C. Ruby Falsey.
Yeah, and I have this individual's real name and address, and that has been passed along to the Columbus Police Department. Okay. And I'll tell you what, at the time, Captain...
How old is this asshole?
This person would be older than Joey. I don't want to give out too much personal information about this person, the poster, the commenter.
Older than 40?
Younger than 40.
Younger than 40, okay.
And I just say that because, look, it could just be we don't want to send a bunch of people on a witch hunt. You know what I mean? This guy might only be guilty of being a classless loser who likes to put weird, strange comments on people's news stories,
or has some issues. I mean, as far as mental issues, or maybe just lonely. And this is going to sound, again, oh man, you're just putting pads around people and stuff. But it's true. This guy could just be lonely, and he has interest in true crime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's researching these cases because these are normally happening on news articles, right? Not just some simple Facebook post or. Right. I'm sure they're happening in other places too. And I'm sure he has multiple accounts, and this C. Ruby Falsey or whatever is just one of his accounts. But just hear me out. What I'm saying is this individual could be lonely, and instead of using their time to research and try to do good in the world, they throw out some dumbass comments here and there, and just to see if they can get somebody riled up.
Well, at the time when I received this information, Captain, I thought maybe this is the guy, and he could be. Maybe he is responsible for Joey LaBute's death. I don't know. I'm not saying that he is. It's a possibility because that case is still unsolved. We do not know the perpetrator of that crime. But this individual in 2016, the year that Joey went missing, he lived about a 7-minute drive from the Union Cafe. Mm-hmm. And he lives extremely close to the Scioto River, which does not make me feel good at all. But
well, no, and doesn't mean that this person has to be necessarily involved in the U.S. airman going missing, because, like we said, go back to the William Ramsey idea, the theory that one individual is feeding other individuals ideas of how to commit these crimes. There's a network of people. So is it possible that you get this creepo in Columbus? He lives really close to the Union, lives close to the river. A boy goes missing. Boy is found in the river. And guess what else this person is researching? Not only the crime that they committed, but crimes that were committed by these people that possibly taught them things. Or people that they're corresponding with.
Or just crimes that are similar in nature.
Right.
But here's the thing, I after making sure that this information made it to the proper authorities, mm-hmm. I then showed a.
Did you drive by the guy's house?
No. Actually, but you know what? When you and I did that interview for 614 magazine?
Yeah.
The bar that we went to do that interview, this person lives very close to that bar. Or did in 2016. Like,
it's kind of a hipster area.
Like if we could have
so you're saying he was a hipster.
Like a good NFL punter could have punted a ball from the bar we were at to this person's dwelling.
Yeah, that's a weird area though, because it's somewhat artsy, somewhat hipster, and then somewhat just really poor.
There are some really poor spots in that area, and that's an area they're trying to bring back to life a little bit.
Yeah, I've gotten some tattoos in that area, and it's like fun when you're driving your friend back there, and they're like, "Where the hell are we going?
Where are you taking me?"
And you're like, "Dude, we're going to this abandoned warehouse to get tattoos."
Well, we went to a warehouse that looked abandoned from the outside to get our pictures taken for that.
Hey, it still looked abandoned once we got inside.
That's true. Now, So here's the thing. Once I made sure this was sent to the proper authorities, I then showed a couple, because sometimes I like to get another person's perspective on these things. So I showed this to a friend of mine. I said, look, this is where this individual lives. And I didn't give the name then, and I won't give the name now. This is where
Okay, we get that. You don't have to
the individual lives.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the Google route to the Union Cafe. And they're like, oh, shit, that's pretty close, 7-minute drive. And then I said, but yeah, and look how close this individual lives to the river, which is even scarier because you think about all the access points of that river. And my friend kind of like over the top flipped out, like, this is the guy. Then I had to remind my friend, it's a river. So a lot of people live very close to it. It's a big sprawling body of water, so many people live close to it. I don't think his proximity makes this person any more guilty than,
Yeah, but I mean, with the proximity to the bar, proximity to the river, and the proximity to the computer that you're leaving shitty comments about this case.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's a shitty comment. The comment about the airman, I don't even know what to make of that. That's just a little strange.
It seems to me, look, at the time I thought this guy could have killed Joey. And then as time has gone by, I hope that information was looked at by police. I hope that they gave this guy a phone call or checked him out.
Well, look, give the guy a phone call, check the guy out. But if he has no connection, which we believe, or at least I believe, that the person responsible for Joey's death, no connection, not a family member, it's not a coworker, this is not somebody they dated, this is somebody that got a hold of Joey maybe through a dating app, possibly, and this is what I believe, and therefore you have little to no connection, and that's what William Ramsey was talking about. If you're going to commit a crime like this and you don't know the individual, the chances of you getting caught go down dramatically. Mm-hmm. So I believe, the crazy thing is when William first started kind of talking, or when I started watching his documentary and then was able to talk to him, it really kind of seemed like, me and William definitely disagree on some of his theories as far as the West Memphis 3. And some of his theories are far-reaching and they stretch out a little bit too far for my reach. But the more I was looking into these different cases that he presented, the more and more it was like, well, shit, what if there is this network? Because, look at, Bruce MacArthur, which they just, I don't know if I told you this yet, but they just went back and searched his house again and searched his property again. And I don't know if this is from him talking or if they got information from somewhere else. So now they have more remains, and they think there's going to be even more remains than that found. So I think he was roughly thinking that he might have been responsible for 9. When it's all said and done, it could be double that.
Right.
And it's like that same scenario. And this is kind of what we were talking about, was this idea that, okay, here's how you do it. Now, let's say 5 people follow or 10 people follow. Well, now you got these similar crimes happening all over the country, and none of these people are connected to the victims. Mm-hmm. And so now it becomes even, so again, I don't want to get too far off what you were saying, but yeah, law enforcement gets this lead. You contact them. Other people contact them. They contact this individual. See, Ruby, falsely, open up your goddamn door, you son of a bitch. He opens up the door. You got nothing. If he doesn't say anything, you got nothing. And if you don't have any DNA from Joey, which you probably don't because he was found in water, then what you got? Got nothing.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what sucks. But
a good starting place for that, though, is if the image, if this guy, if you could place him at the Union Cafe or place him at one of those bars that night, we're talking, both those places are very busy bars. There would have been a lot of people there. You would hope that somebody may have saw something or saw somebody hanging out with Joey.
Well, let me say this, and you can agree or disagree. 7-minute drive is not that long, right? if you're in like a suburb, if you're in the country.
In 7 minutes in this location, you're going to pass a lot of businesses, a lot of houses. That's
my point. So yes, we go 7 minutes in the suburbs. That's nothing. In the country, that's nothing. In the city, that's a little more, because for an individual to parking and stuff, this individual lives in an area that they could walk to a bar and have a drink, could walk to several bars before they get to the Union. Why are they going to the Union? See what I mean? So it is a little bit further away.
Yeah, I don't think the proximity of this individual is any bit of a tell.
Right, but here's the thing. If you can, like you said, not even just if you can place them in the Union or in the bar across the street. If you can place them within a mile, because a lot of those bars, the problem is this happened so long ago, you probably didn't get security footage of all these places. They claim that they did get some. I know they have footage from the Union, but if this person was on a dating app, because a lot of these dating apps, when you go on there, you swipe left or swipe right. I think right is good, left is bad. Here's my knowledge of dating apps. You want me to tell you my knowledge?
Go ahead.
So I decided to try one. There's Tinder, Bumble, all these different ones. So I decided to try one. Now, it started because my friend was like, you should try one of these dating apps. So we're at a bar. They grabbed my phone. They set the whole thing up, right? Then they swiped left or right all night.
Right.
So these are chick friends of mine. And I just went, okay, so they swiped a bunch of left or rights, and I don't know who they swiped, and they could have, whatever, right? So the next day I go, there's some matches, whatever, and I just go, this is silly, I didn't set this up, so I deleted it. About a week later goes by, and I go, you know what? I should, I'm single, I should try this out. So I set it up, my profile, here's my picture. So, this is a sexy picture of the captain. Put a couple pictorial pictures, a couple dick pics. No, I'm just joking. But set up my profile. Then it goes to the part where you got to start swiping. The first person that asked me to swipe on, left or right, to choose, was my friend that set up the app a week ago. So, declined them. The next one was the girl that was sitting next to her helping her. So I declined her. And then I get a text message. Just no lie. I'm on the app. I just got it so I can swipe left or right. I swipe 2 people to the left, and I get a text message from the first girl that I swiped to the left saying, hey, my coworker just told me that you're on Tinder or Bumble, whichever one I did. Right?
Okay.
She's a big fan of the show. And I went, oh God. So then I deleted the whole thing. But what I do know is that you have this proximity thing. So like if you're in a mile of the Union and Joey's in a mile of the Union and you like search for people in the area, you can like match or not match.
Right.
So I think a lot of this information or a lot of the keys to some of these cases being solved, which I do think a lot of these individuals are being drugged by somebody, but they're also possibly like connecting with these. I'm just throwing out a crazy theory here. But what if you got on one of these apps and you this guy connected with Joey, right? Now they're messaging back and forth, right? Not text messaging, but messaging through the app. He figures out where Joey's at. So then he goes there and maybe he looks different than the profile pic that he put out, right?
Okay.
And so Joey doesn't know who it is.
Right.
This guy could walk by him all night long. Joey doesn't know who it is, right?
Right.
Drug the guy. Joey starts leaving. You follow the guy. See what I'm saying?
Do you think if, let's say the last spot that Joey was Union Cafe or that seedy bar across the street, do you think it's more likely that Joey was abducted? We should say abducted, because if somebody drugs you and leads you off somewhere, that's abduction. Do you think he was abducted by someone that was possibly on one of these dating apps? Or do you think it's more likely that it was just somebody, some kind of random person that happened to be in the same location as Joey that night?
No, I think this is like hunting. I really think that's what it's like. And I think one thing I'd like to know, which I don't know, and I've tried to look it up and I couldn't find. So if anybody could find, I would like, please send the information to me at captain@truecrimegarage.com. But what I couldn't find out was the Scioto River searched within that 2-week period?
I believe before Joey was found.
I believe it was.
I believe that it was, and I think that we reported that it was, but I'm going off of memory from 2 years ago. I think there were Columbus Dispatch articles that stated that the police had searched portions of the river, and I think that once he was found, there was some thought that he could have been. There's like no comfortable way to discuss this. He could have been wedged under something or weighted, and then for some reason he became unwedged or lost the weights, and then was later, because I believe he was snagged. Like he would have gone with the current, but I believe he was snagged. Like there's an area that kind of hooks out, and I think it kind of caught his body, and that's where he was found.
Well, and obviously, if you search a place that's as big as the Scioto, like it's possible that you're not going to find the individual.
True.
But what I believe this is sicker, twisted, more twisted. It's darker than anybody thinks. I think these individuals are going after people. They're targeting them. They're finding their profile information through online apps or whatever. They have their plan hatched. They implement their plan. And it doesn't have to go perfect, but as long as it goes somewhat to plan, they're safe. Nobody knows who they are. Joey probably didn't even know who this individual was. Like I said, they could use fake pictures and stuff to lure this person in. But I believe that these individuals are taken somewhere for a time period. For what? I don't know. I'm going to just throw that out there. I think it's dark, twisted torture. That's what I believe it is. And then they're being dumped. But I think they're being dumped after the fact of a place being searched, and almost as a way to go, yeah, I know you searched there, but now you'll find a body. And by knowing that, then you should know, or should at least put together the pieces that this individual was somewhere else. And I bet the autopsies become a lot harder to do once the body is submerged in water for that long.
Oh, yeah.
But I guarantee you that he didn't die the night he went missing. Well, that's my gut feeling.
And okay, so do you have any more updates for me on Brian Schaefer or Joey LaBute before I take off? Because you mentioned you had updates, and I just wanted to make sure we did.
I don't have an update on Joey, but I did get a text message from Nicholas West. He's doing the podcast is called Come Back, the Brian Schaefer story. I've listened to, I don't know, 4 or 5 episodes. I'm not caught up on it yet, but me and you have been so busy with the weekly show, plus now this bonus show. This is my favorite show to record, though, because it's just hit record and go. Let me pull up this text message. It's from Nicholas West. We stayed in contact, and so I sent him a text message. Basically, just a snapshot of, hey, I'm on episode 4.
Right.
He sends me an email that says, and it's written from somebody else to somebody else.
Right.
But he basically says, I just want to keep you guys updated on this one. NamUs could not exclude using the dental records from the UHR.
Did we discuss this on with mics turned on yet? About the possible lead of the Brian Schaefer case?
No, but we could. I think we can dive into that next week.
That would be great. Because it's a little little hefty to cram in here in the last minute or two.
Okay, so but basically, on the lead that we gave them, they don't know yet. But there's another lead that they're looking into that I think there was a John Doe in Pittsburgh. So basically, we gave them a lead. We'll talk about that lead next week. Seems like, off the record, it's just becoming the Brian Schaefer podcast.
Well, it is a case that has been important to us as is the Joey LaBute case. These were gentlemen that were roughly our same age and from the same area, and both stories are tragic. There's still hope for Brian Schaefer, obviously, but what I'm hoping is that let's keep Joey's story alive, because this thing needs to be solved. We need to get justice for his family. They did have a fantastic memorial, and I believe this was in March of 2017 at Goodale Park for Joey LaBute, and it was a big turnout. There were a lot of people there to celebrate Joey's life. So there, if you're the individual responsible for this, don't feel like just because we're a couple years removed that you're out of the woods, because there were so many people that loved and cared so much about Joey. They're still looking for you, and they're not going to let his story go silent.
Hey, and see Ruby falsely. If you can explain why you're doing this, I'd be happy to hear you. Captain at truecrimegarage.com.
Well, and here's the thing: get a new hobby. See Ruby Falsey, and
if you're not responsible,
and see Ruby Falsey is like school on Sunday. No class.